Hi everyone, welcome to today's class. So you have chosen the class for menstruation. So you're currently on your period, maybe experiencing heavy bleeding, some cramps and some low back pain. So we're just going to do some restorative poses today that really help to ease those symptoms. The props that you will need a bolster or sort of a long body pillow if you haven't got a bolster at home, a blanket, and just a small cushion like this. You don't need blocks for today's practice. So if you need to, just pause the video to get your props ready. Just make sure they're in easy reach so it doesn't disrupt your practice. And we're going to start in this simple upright seated position. And when we're on our periods and we're bleeding, what's really important with our breath is to do what we call soft belly breathing. So this, as it sounds, is all about keeping the belly basically pushed out. So rather than always sucking it up, keeping it tucked in, just letting it all out and letting that full inhalation and exhalation to really reach the bottom of your belly and your pelvis. So that's what we're going to practice for our seated meditation at the start of class. So as I say, come into a comfortable upright seated position. And when you're ready, just close your eyes. Make sure shoulders are down away from your ears. And just start to breathe naturally, becoming aware of what your breath feels like. And on your next inhale, I want you to really think about this concept of soft belly breathing. So as you inhale, your chest expands, and just allow your belly to soften and push outwards. And then on the exhale, let your belly just fall naturally as far as it goes. There's no need, as I say, to bring it in at the end of the exhale. Just allowing it to remain soft at the end of that inhale and all the way through the exhale. So we're just going to practice a few of those soft belly breaths. It can be really helpful during these soft belly breaths to just visualize the breath traveling down, filling your tummy, your pelvis, your womb, where all this hard work is going on during your period, and where you feel a lot of the heaviness, the tightness, and the cramping will be in your lower abdominal area and your lower back. So just visualizing that full breath, just nourishing all of those areas as you breathe in and out. So one last soft belly breath. And as we move through this practice, as we've been talking about, always listen to your body. If on your period any of these poses are too much and you just feel like you need rest, you can come into Shavasana at any time, or you can come into a supported child's pose. You can just stop the poses that we're doing if it doesn't feel right in your body. So always checking in with that. So we're going to come into our first pose, Madhyasana, cat and cow. So we need to come onto all fours, making sure that our knees are directly under our hips, wrists are directly under our shoulders, fingertips are spread wide, so we're taking that weight and we're pushing into the tops of our feet as well. And on the inhale, we're going to drop our chest, look up to the sky. Exhale, round and contract the middle and upper back. So inhale, we drop the chest down towards the mat, gaze up to the sky. Exhale, round and contract. And usually in cat and cow, when we're doing the contraction, we're thinking about lifting our tummies up at the end of that exhale. Obviously, as we're menstruating, we're going to keep the soft belly breath and really just focusing on the movement of the upper and mid back in this sort of spinal mobility pose. So we're going to do 4 rounds together now. So inhale, drop the chest and belly, lift the gaze. Exhale, round and contract. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Keeping that belly soft. And exhale, round and contract. Now coming back to neutral, staying on all fours, we're going to do hip circles. So you can stay in this position and we're just simply rotating our hips round, and you can really decide how big or small you want these circles to be. You can bring your hands just slightly in front of where we were on all fours, just to give yourself a bit more range of movement if you're feeling that you want to go further. I tend to like to keep my circles fairly small when I'm bleeding and I've got quite bad cramping. So keeping that soft belly breath, we're just going to rotate our hips round in one direction first. Just creating some space and some movement in all that tightness in our pelvic area that we experience during this time of the month. And come back to neutral, and then we're going to just rotate and go in the other direction. Making sure we're not dipping in our back, keeping our back nice and straight, just allowing the hips to move round freely. And come back to neutral. Okay, so we're going to come into supported child's pose, balasana pose. This is when you're going to need your bolster. So we're going to come toes, big toes together, knees as far apart as is comfortable for you. And you're going to bring your bolster, the shorter edge of your bolster is going to come between your thighs. Sitting on our heels, we're going to lift up into the hips and hinge forward at the hips, crawling our hands forward, and our chest is meeting the bolster, and we're just resting on one side, closing your eyes. Think about your soft belly breaths. And we're going to stay here for about 4 minutes. Just remembering every so often just to swap your neck, just to keep an even stretch in your neck. So close your eyes, melt into your bolster or your pillow, and I'll tell you when it's time to come back. Crawling your hands back in. No rushing here, just taking your time, lifting up out of the pose. You can move your bolster to one side. And we're going to come into supported seated wide angle pose. So you just want to grab your small cushion and you're just going to place that underneath your bottom, sort of sitting on the edge of the cushion, just so it's tilting your pelvis forward slightly. And then bring your legs out wide as far as is comfortable for you. Just check in with that today. You may feel some tightness in your legs as well, obviously, as your lower back pain and cramps. So just check in with how wide your legs are, that you can just feel that stretch. That's all we need, just that stretching sensation. There should be no pinching, no localized pain. Just as wide as you get that general stretch along your inner thighs. Now you can stay in this position and we're just going to be leaning forward, coming into this seated wide angle pose. If you do have a bolster or you feel you need a bit more support, you can have this in front of you like this, just coming forward, bringing your chest down to meet the bolster. Or if you don't have much flexibility and movement to come very far forward, you can just have your bolster up like this and just literally you can hold on to it and just leaning forward. Again, lean as far forward as just to get that stretch. That's all we're sort of seeking. You don't need to push into a certain amount of fold in this pose. So just till you get a sort of nice stretching sensation along your inner thighs. So get into whatever version of the pose is comfortable to you today. Remembering we're inhale, we're like lifting our hips up and then we're hinging them forward, crawling to meet the bolster if you've got it there. And again, we're going to be in this pose for about 4 minutes. So just close your eyes, melt into the bolster and remember your soft belly breathing. And I'll tell you when we're ready to come back out of the pose. Start to deepen your breath as you're ready to come out of the pose. Place your hands on the mat either side and pushing up, walking your hands in towards your thighs, slowly coming out of the pose, taking your time and moving the bolster to one side and taking the cushion out from underneath. So we're going to come next into constructive rest pose. This is a really simple but powerful pose. You can come into any time when you're on your period. So we're going to come lying on our backs. Soles of the feet are flat to the floor, so knees are bent like this. And what we need to get right in this pose is the distance of our heels away from our buttocks and our hips. So where I am at the moment is too far. And if I was to bring them all the way in where they're almost touching, that would be too close. So we want to get somewhere in between there. So the way I like to do it is I bring my heels in as close as I can to my buttocks, and then I take a step out. And another way to check you've got this right is just to place your hands on your hip bones here. And if you are too close or too far, you'll feel the muscles across here, the ones we're trying to relax, you'll feel them tighten, they'll feel harder, and you'll know that you're engaging them too much. So that's just another way, another feedback from your body of how to get into this pose. So just stepping, your muscles around your hips should feel relaxed. And you can place your hands over your belly if that feels nice. Or if you want a chest and upper back stretch, you can lift your arms up above you, making sure wherever your arms are that you're keeping this soft belly breath. There should be no tension in your abdomen, in your hips. A really powerful pose for how simple it seems. And the psoas muscle, which runs across the front of the hips, essentially what we're working on here, and we're just allowing it to be in its resting pose. And this is the muscle that's really tight and sort of clenching when we're menstruating, when we're cramping. So this is just a perfect way just to release that muscle and release some of the tension and cramps that you'll be feeling. So we're just going to stay here for a few minutes. Close your eyes, focus on your breath, and I'll tell you when we're going to come out of the pose. Bring your hands to the side of your hips wherever they were during that pose. And we're going to stay lying on our backs and we're going to bring our knees into our chest. Now, for some women, if you're experiencing cramping, this pressure that we're going to sort of create with our knees can feel really good for some people. For some people, it can be too much. If it's too much for you, you can just widen your knees out so that you're not compressing your pelvis or your stomach during this pose. So however you have your knees, we're going to gently just hold on to them with our hands and we're going to do some hip circles. So like we were doing when we were on all fours, this time we're just gently using our hands to guide our knees round. We're going to do 5 on each side. And this is a really nice way just to massage the lower back, which is also an area where we experience pain and tension during our menstruation. Going in the other direction. Remembering to keep that belly soft, no tension in the abdomen. Just let your arms guide your knees round. And just do 1 squeeze of the knees into the chest if this feels okay for you. And release. Bringing our feet back flat to the floor and just heel toe, just step out until you reach the edges of the mat. And then allow your knees to just fall in towards each other so they're gently resting against each other. Hands can come to your abdomen again, just a few breaths here. This is just a lower back release. It's just a nice counter pose to the circles that we just did. A couple more soft belly breaths here. And when you're ready, we're going to come into Shavasana, our final resting pose. So extend your legs out. You can take up space here so your feet can be at the edges of the mat. Hands come down to either side of your hips. Your hips are heavy, melting into the floor. Shoulder blades are down, shoulders away from ears. And closing your eyes. Making sure that the forehead is soft, the jaw is soft. And before we come into a silence, just want to bring attention to our womb, to our pelvis, to the area of our body that during this time is working so hard. And there's a lot of tension and heaviness that we carry in these areas. So for the next few breaths, I just want you to imagine your breath traveling down and just nourishing, bringing light and air and space to those tight, restricted areas. Keeping that belly soft as the breath travels down. And we're going to come into a couple minutes of silence in this pose. Keeping that belly soft. And I'll tell you when we're ready to come out of the pose. Start to deepen your breath. You bring your awareness back to the room. Start with some micro movements, so wiggling fingers and toes. Gently rocking your head side to side. And when you're ready, just rolling onto one side. Before we come all the way up, just staying in this fetal position for a couple of breaths. Before making our way back up. Into an upright seated position where we started class. So we're just going to do a 1-minute seated meditation. So close your eyes, roll shoulders away from your ears. And in this time, I just want you to notice how your body feels now compared to when we started this practice. Whether your cramps and the tension that you're feeling in your pelvic area feel any different, any lighter. And how your soft belly breathing is really enabling you to create space in those areas. Just a few more breaths here. And when you're ready, slowly blink your eyes open. Thank you so much for today's practice. I really hope that it's helped with your period symptoms, that sort of heaviness and cramping has eased a bit, and that you enjoyed today's class and that it made you realize that we can still do poses and still choose slow, purposeful movements that can support us during our period.